Welcome to What's Your Story. We're so glad you joined us today. We have an exciting guest. Her name is Maria Romano, and we're going to talk about love. So welcome, Maria. We're really glad to have you here.
I am so excited to be here, Judy. And thank you so much for the invite.
Well, you've written this book, and I love it. Going from just one to plus one. That's a really cool book, and we will, of course, put this up on our screen up here so that everybody can see it on a regular basis throughout the show. But tell me about the book, and tell me about you. You're a minister. And you've been a model, you've been a writer, you've been a speaker, you've been it all, right?
Well, I don't know. I think, when I think of that, what is that commercial, bring home the bacon,
yes.
We bring it all. I think a lot of women were on Prozac after that because we really can't do it all. But, I really have had an interesting career because I started in the rent-a-car industry, in 1976. And that's actually where I come from, the corporate world, where I met my husband, my late husband. We were in the rent-a-car business for many years. And I ran a car rental company, and we grew that company. I was the CEO, president, from 7 cars to over 1,800 cars and over
goodness.
$18 million a year in revenue. But life changed. Okay, life changed. In 1997, Frank had a heart attack, and he lived, he bridged over, but he had to have a heart transplant in 1997, which, we're going back a long time ago. Fortunately, he had a heart transplant. He lived 15 years post-transplant. So we sold the car rental company in 2010, and in 2009, I went to a wedding at the Las Vegas Country Club, and that is a beautiful location.
Oh, it is. I like it.
From there, I had seen the minister that performed the wedding ceremony for a friend was a woman. And I thought, I think I could do that because I wanted to do something that was impactful, that I would enjoy, and it was love. So I actually got my license then. I pounded the pavements, and I went out to all the different chapels on the Strip and to the different venues, and I started, and it wasn't easy. That was not an easy journey. But from that, over the last 12 years, last year I did almost 1,000 wedding ceremonies.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
So there's we have a lot of business here in Las Vegas, and I created a course during COVID on how to officiate weddings. But let's back up a minute. You asked me about my journey, about the book. So in 2012, I'll never forget, on August 8th, Frank passed away. And that was a very difficult time in my life.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I had to make a painful decision to take him off life support. And I think that anybody that has gone through that, it's tough. And I'll never forget, I walked into the hospital room, and I remember that hospital smell. And I remember seeing him on all this life support, and he wasn't the man that I married at that time. And I remember a sea of white coats as they were unhooking him off life support. And that touched me because as he was passing and I was with him, I knew he would have been there for me the same way I was with him. But also, I recognized that he was out of pain. My life changed. And a few months later, I'll never forget, I was in my kitchen. It was a Sunday afternoon. And I was recalling the scent of freshly baked lasagna. And I walked over to Frank's chair, and I ran my hand on the back of his chair. And then I sat down in my chair. And I would have done anything not to have dinner alone. And that's when I realized I was no longer a plus one.
Yes.
I became a just one. Life changed.
Yes, yes. And so the book came about?
Well, life changed. The book came about because, most writers really write books for themselves. I mean, that's really what we do. We write books because it's what we need, and then we share it with the world. So, life goes on just like anything else. And even though people know that people ask and see how you're doing, but life changes when you go from being a Mrs. to a Miss.
Yes.
Those invites fall off.
Oh,
right?
yes, they do.
And it's really, it's painful. And again, you look for a different set of friends. And I knew that I was always on borrowed time because Frank had a heart transplant. You're always on borrowed time. So I was sort of prepared, but I was really never prepared. So my friend and I were sitting in my kitchen about 8 years ago, and she says, "How's your dating life, Maria?" And and I looked at her, and this is my friend. She's a dear friend of mine, and she is a guidance counselor for young children. She's also a family marriage therapist. And we were sitting there, I call it the deadly combination. We were having Pinot Noir and M&Ms. Not a good combination. And I was non-existent. And she told me, you know what, I think you need to put yourself online. And I was resistant because I was out of the dating world 35 years. Yeah. It's scary. I figured, you know, when I wanted to start dating, Judy, that people would come knocking on your door.
No.
Heck no.
No.
That's not the way of the world.
The ones that do, I don't think you want.
Exactly right. So, you know, hence I put myself out there online, and I want to tell you, it really wasn't easy. So now when I've gone on a first date, I have 3 questions I ask. Have you ever been arrested and convicted for murder?
Good to ask that.
Good to ask that one. Have you ever been abducted by aliens more than once? More than once. And the third is, do you or have you currently owned a swingers estate? So I'm going to tell you, I made mistake after mistake, but I learned.
Yes.
And that's when the journey changed for me, because, you know, I realized that people out there want to find love. And I was in my 50s at the time. I'm in my 60s now. I have my Medicare card. I have found love. I'm very fortunate. I'm in a great relationship. But I waited. I mean, I waited, and it was not an easy path, because sometimes you make the wrong choices, and we're looking for love, but we really start loving ourselves, and I think that's the key thing.
Yeah, it is the key. You know my friend RJ Donato. Well, RJ was single at the time, I was single, and we were both online, and we would compare the people that we met. You know, and he would say, "Oh, you know, we should write a book. You and I should write a book." And I said, "Yeah, we should write a book called Match.Comedy," because we had some nightmares, both of us, the various people, you know, that we met. And you have to have high self-esteem to put yourself out there like that. I was sitting one day waiting for this gentleman to show up at Marie Callender. I sat right out by the fireplace waiting. I got there a little early. The fellow walked in, he took one look at me and he said, "You'll never do," and he turned around and walked out. And I thought, whoa, you know, what if I had poor self-esteem? That would have devastated some people. You know, it's amazing what people say to other people. So, you know, how do we find the right person? How do we get past? Well, one man walked in one day and he said to me, "Oh, I thought you'd be thinner than you are." I felt like saying, "And I thought you'd have teeth in the front," you know. I mean, excuse me. Excuse me.
You know, there's a certain dating etiquette I think people really need to have. And yes, my self-esteem was just shattered. There were times. But you know what? It's not easy. You do have to pick yourself up. And yes, you know, you can nurture yourself, maybe your girlfriend, so on and so forth. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, and I also coach people, is you need to have that. It's not easy getting back into the dating world.
No, it's not.
And you know what? Let's face it. We're not 30s and 40s, and we don't look the same way that we did then, but we have so much more to offer. I think as we get to this stage in life, we've lived through life, we know what to expect. We're not going through those growing pains. We want to go through those loving pains with somebody new. So I had many nights where I came home and I cried my eyes out, and I said, what was I thinking? Like, didn't I read their profile? And yes, you know, I had a guy text me back and said, "I thought you're a little too bottom heavy." Bottom heavy? You know, I think you're a little too mouth heavy. That's how I felt. But yeah, and that's important, that when you get back into the dating world, that you really love yourself, and that's an area.
Oh, yeah.
And you really remain true to who you are, because I think what happens is, as a women, and we take on so many roles. Right? We start off, you know, we're maybe a daughter of somebody, a granddaughter, and then we move on and we get involved in the business world today. We become maybe a parent and a grandparent, and we have so many different hats. And when we get to a certain stage in life, hopefully the kids are out of the house, right?
Right.
Maybe you're not having to take care of them anymore, or the grandkids. And you really need to start loving yourself, and you change. I mean, you're the same person, but you change, and I think your values change. And you know, what I was looking for, even when Frank passed away and when I started in the dating world, because I've been single for 10 years, is what I was looking for even 8 years ago has evolved to
Yes,
today.
yes.
And that's the key thing. I think we're looking, as women, we're always looking for that Prince Charming that's going to rescue us. We do. I mean, I'm a big fan. I watch Hallmark Channel like crazy. I still believe in all that stuff. But I think as women, we have a tendency of thinking we're going to have that Prince Charming show up. And really, we need to be that Prince Charming and take care of ourselves.
Right, right, right. And so often we don't take care of ourselves. We're so busy taking care of everybody else. I was just complaining about that myself. I was like, I did this and this and this for this person and they didn't appreciate it. You know, and I have to learn, first I have to take care of me. And that's hard for most women, to take care of themselves. If you love yourself first, then it's easier to love other people, but it's hard to learn to love ourselves. How do we learn that?
And you know, that is a process, because I have gone through that process as well. And there are still days I self-sabotage myself. So I'm not going to say, I think it's always going to be a work in progress, and that's being the feminine, being that feminine type of individual. We're just not raised, I mean, we just don't have that in our DNA, but it's a learned process, and I think the younger generation has really come so far in loving themselves and putting their priorities first. But I think as you get into the, you know, the Gen Xers and baby boomers and older, that they don't. And this is one thing I do, you know, I tell clients, you know, you really need to sit down and think about your assets, the things, the qualities that you like about yourself, and ask your friends, what do they like about you?
Yes.
But there's the other side. What could you improve upon? You know, we're not perfect.
Right.
I mean, I'm far from perfect. We're all far from perfect. And what I like to do too is I have my mantras about what I'm grateful for. And I think the key thing is as we get up in the morning, we need to first be grateful for our health. You know, that we can enjoy life, because you want to be healthy, and I think that's the key thing to loving yourself.
Yes.
And sometimes we need things in our life to help us move along, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we have to start with being healthy, because that starts with the frame of mind and who you are, and loving. You know, I think the biggest thing for women, and you know, we do change physically. We don't look the same, but you know what? You want to love every gray hair, although we cover it, I know that. But every gray hair, every wrinkle, you know, every dimple, cellulite, because that's who you are. I mean, that's your life.
Yes.
And you want to find somebody that loves you for who you are.
Exactly. I just saw the most fabulous interview with Viola Davis, and she said that when she decided to really look for love, she got down on her knees to God and said, I want a big black man that loves God, that has children already and take the pressure off of me, and has been an athlete. And she named off exactly what she wanted. And she prayed and prayed to God for this person. And she said within 2 weeks, there he was.
I listened to her speak. She was on the Phil Donahue and Marlo Thomas. They have a podcast that's like Second Date or something like that, and because they've been married so many years, and they had Viola Davis and her husband on, and I thought it was a great interview. And you know what she did was right, because you have to manifest. I manifested what I wanted. I did manifest, and it took me a long time. I'm not saying that this is a forever, I don't know, and I tell this to people, and once they start manifesting, that makes all the difference in the world. If you want someone in your life, you need to open up your life. So that means even opening up your home, even your domain. Maybe you set the table for 2. It might not be 2 people, but that's what you start, when you start with that process. But it goes back to, you have to really know who you are and what you want from a relationship. If you're looking for a travel companion, that's one thing. If you're looking for companionship and moving in with somebody and having a life and maybe you need to actually state that, because don't think if you meet somebody and they just want a travel companion but you want more than that, they're going to change. And that's what happens when if you really truly love somebody. When we get to a point where we're not looking for somebody to just take care of us, or because they love us because we love them, or because we think we can change them. When you come to a point where you can actually appreciate somebody, allow them to be who they are and honor them, that's love. And then that's how you're going to welcome love in your life. It took me, I mean, I had a lot of tears. I'm going to tell you, it was not easy. A lot of Pinot Noir, and the M&Ms I had to give up on a little bit, but that's okay.
That's funny, the M&Ms, right? What are the common dating trends today?
Well, there's a couple of great dating trends. First of all, since COVID, there's called the apocalypse dating, where we got to find that somebody because it's going to be the end of the world. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with wanting to find someone, but don't latch on to the first person. And what happens is we then, we have rose-colored glasses, and we don't look at the red flags when they're staring right at us, because we just want somebody in our lives. And I've been out on dates where I have met men, and you probably have had the same thing, where they'll tell you, I'm going to marry you. What? That scares me. I want to walk away. I want a man that's going to take his time to fall in love with me. At least give it a week.
Yeah. I had a man, when I was on the dating app, I had a man that I went out with several times, really liked him. And I was out with him one day for lunch, and he said, you know, I've been dating various women, and I've narrowed it down to 3. And you are one of those 3. And I asked my sisters to help me make a decision, which one of the 3. And they both voted for you. And so I think that you're the one. And I thought, well, you're not the one for me. This is not how you make a decision to have somebody in your life. You know, I think you're the one. He said, I'm like, well, no, I'm not. In fact, I have to go. You know, I was like, what?
It's true. You know what? It's true, because what happens is people base their opinions about somebody based upon maybe what their family thinks or their friends think. Now, mind you, your family and friends have your best interest.
Yes.
That's important. However, you're the one that's got to sleep with them, wake up with them in the morning, you know, brush your teeth, and maybe form a life with them. So at the end of the day, yes, you want to listen to what your family and friends have to say. You want to bring somebody into your life that's going to blend with you. But I think, again, that's basing it on not just down to 3 and telling you that.
Yeah, he was shopping, and he was making a decision between these 3 things that he was shopping for, and I was like, no, you know.
Right, and that's what happens. So that's what happens when you get out there with one of the dating trends. You're right, you're shopping. And yes, you are shopping in some respects. I will agree to that. But first of all, it is dating. It's just like a horse race. You just want to make sure that you have somebody left standing in the race. I don't think you need to share that with somebody when you start dating right away, because it is dating. But when you move to the point where you're going to get intimate, then that's an exclusivity, and that should be an exclusivity.
Now, how do you know when you're ready for that?
Well, you know, you don't know, because I have made mistakes where, and I've had clients where the same thing has happened, where we perceive something and we think the relationship is going in that direction, and then we decide to get intimate. And then we find out that that person thinks you're great, but they're not ready to make a commitment, and that's pretty devastating. So I think you have to listen to your gut. You have to listen to your gut and not try to force and move a relationship. You need to kind of leave it in the universe's hands or God's hands in some respect, and let it evolve. And I see a lot of women and men that make the mistake that want to move to that intimacy level right away, and that doesn't serve its purpose. No. It really doesn't. You want to get to know somebody, and you want a chemistry, absolutely, but you want a connection.
Well, I always feel like my body is the most important thing I have. You know, I don't want to just go sharing it with everybody in the neighborhood.
Well, that's what I learned when I met a gentleman that had that swingers estate. He said, you know, he says, I don't have to get involved and do that. And I thought to myself, community PP is not what I want. It's okay. But, you know, and that's one of the other trend, too, is we're seeing, is we call it breadcrumbing. So it's
what is it called?
Breadcrumbing, meaning that where somebody, you meet them, and then they say they'll get back to you, and then you don't hear from them in 2 or 3 weeks, and then they reach out to you, so they give you a glimmer of hope. It's like, you know, really, either you're interested or you're not. And I think, really, I think the best way is just like in the business world, and this is what people don't understand. If you like somebody, let them know. If you want to move it along, let them know. Do you offer a position to somebody in a company and say, we're going to think about it and we're going to just try you out? You offer them that position, but it might be the 90-day trial, right? Mm-hmm. The same thing with dating. Be honest with who you are. If you're interested in somebody, let them know. Why? If you don't let them know, you might pass up on, they might think you don't like them and they pass up on an opportunity.
Well, so many of us older women were taught that you shouldn't chase after men, and you shouldn't let them know you're interested, and you should make them chase after you. And then we got married, and we're married 30 years, and then now we're single again, and we don't know how to play the game. We're like, oh, they should be chasing after me. I shouldn't be letting them know that I really like them, because if I let them know, they'll run away. Is that what happens?
No, men want to know that a woman cares for them. A man wants to know that he is sexy, that he's attractive, that if he gives you a safe haven. Those are things that every man wants to feel. And you don't have to text them 20 times a day, call them, but let them know. Send them. You don't have to fall all over them, but what does it take to open up your phone and send a heart? That's it. You don't have to say anything. Less is best. I always feel that way. What does it take to just say, thinking of you? And that's all because you want to kind of remain in their mind. They're busy. They're occupied. They might be in a busy
they
profession.
Have two others they're comparing you with.
No, well, please. Okay, that one. Aren't you glad you passed?
Yes.
And I bet he's sorry he told her. But no, seriously, when you think about it, it's just you should it's a two-way street. You know, even when you're married, when you're in a relationship and you're married, you let that person know you care for them, that you appreciate them. And that's one thing is that at this stage in life, which sometimes we take for granted the relationship we had for 30 or 40 years, is to take each day that when you're with somebody that it's a gift, and letting them know, and always having that date night, and always play, even though the intimacy might change, just being there for them and holding their hand, and just doing kind things. It doesn't have to be anything big. That's part of showing love.
Yes, it really is. And I think that women, especially older women, and maybe even men, because I think what RJ was telling me about all the strange dates he had, I think we all want to have someone in our life, someone that cares about us. Maybe they don't have to live in the same house, but we want someone that checks on us regularly, or just lets us know that we're really special. It's nice to know that, isn't it?
I think that's the key thing. We want to feel special, but you also need to make that other person feel. So it goes both ways, and sometimes men, they don't know how to do that. They might be passionate, but they don't know how to be romantic. They don't know how, so you need to kind of lead them and guide them, and then when you start showing them that they're special, then of course they reciprocate. And yes, I think it depends upon the type of relationship you want. Some couples work well by living in separate households. I don't want to wake up with my dog every morning eventually. I want somebody in my bed. I mean, that just depends upon who you are and what you want. And I think you need to define that as well.
Yeah.
But going back, you need to love yourself. That is the key thing.
Well, and I think when you love yourself, you let the other person know what it is you want and need.
Absolutely, and you need to set those boundaries. And when you start, talking about that, of what's important in a relationship and how you can continue to support each other and how you can make it grow, even if you're with them 30 years. So anybody, even if you're listening to this, that you're 30 years into your relationship, you need to constantly push that envelope to see what you can do to move it along. And that's what's important. And let's face it, every 5 years we sort of grow and change, and you need to let your partner know what love language you speak, right?
Yes.
That's the key thing.
Yes. I love that book about love languages, because in fact I had someone say to me once, Judy, your love language is gifts. And I said, gifts? And they said, yes. I said, well, I don't expect gifts. They said, no, you're always giving gifts. You're always giving gifts to everyone. And I'm like, Oh, I guess I do, you know, because I like to give little gifts to people. I like to give reminders. But I think, what was the name of that book? The Five Love Languages?
The Five Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, and actually I live by what he says. And you can also use that in the workplace. He has a quiz. You can go to his website, The Five Languages of Love, and you can take a quiz to see what your love language is. But love language changes. I like gifts as well. I like giving gifts just the same way you do, which I have a little gift for you too.
Oh, good. I like
So
gifts.
you like it. But also too, I like also somebody telling me, or actually, if I need my car washed, go get my car
Right.
washed for me, help me. And everyone's different, but you can use that. There's a quiz there for couples, and there's a quiz for appreciation in the workplace. So when you really identify the love languages that people around you want to receive, as well as how you want to receive it, that just makes the world a better place. And I talk about that too when I speak to people in the working environment, because I have a talk called Loving Your Way to the Top. And it's really a great talk. And it talks about getting to know the people you work with, because when you can bring out the best, it's like being in a relationship. When you can bring out the best in each other, the same thing when you're working with people.
Oh, yes.
It just makes it that much easier.
I know. I love it when you work with people that you really love and admire and respect, and you get up in the morning and you think, I get to go to work today, instead of, ugh, I got to go to work today.
Well, I get to do some weddings later today. I am so excited to marry couples, I have to tell you.
Oh,
it is a
good.
great business.
I want you to tell us a little bit more about your book, going from just one to plus one, and how we can get it.
Yes, so going from just one to a plus one, I wrote that during the pandemic, which was great therapy for me. And I think that just kind of moved me along in my dating life and helping other people. And you can find it on Amazon, and it's by Maria Romano. So feel free to, or you can always just email me, and I can maybe arrange, if you live here in Las Vegas, I'll meet up with you and sign it. And it's Maria@trueloveknots.com. Just email me.
True Love Knots?
Right, it's TRUELOVEKNOTS.com. And the book is a great pocket guide, because if you're getting back in the dating world, maybe you're a widow, just like me, a widower, you're divorced, or maybe you're a professional person. Depending upon your background, I have dedicated different chapters, and there's a couple of things about the book that I've talked about. Boomers' adolescence, how we get back in the dating world, we don't know what to do or say, or dysfunctional detoxing. Read the book, and if you like, and then email me if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you and your journey.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Maria, thank you for being here with us today. This has been really fun. I always love talking with you, and I'm very impressed with the book. And now that I have a copy, I can't wait. I'm going to read this right away and see what I'm doing right or what I'm doing wrong, right?
Listen, it's all a fun journey, and that's the key thing. And I've loved being here today and talking about dating. And we'll have to have RJ come back too, and we can do a
Yes, wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be fun, talk about dating escapades. I'm sure people would love that.
Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, that he's got some wild stories. And so did I. I mean, because I dated a lot of them before I found the one, So, and it's funny that you kind of expect that you're going to find someone right here in the vicinity where you are. That's what I was looking for. And I didn't. I accidentally found somebody way off somewhere else. I just saw this picture of this nice looking man, and he had gone out and gotten professional photographs. And so I clicked on it just to let him know that it was really good that he got good photographs. Yes. And bless his heart, he got in his car and drove all the way to Las Vegas to meet me. So that turned out really well.
How ironic. The man that I'm with now, he lives out of state. So I totally understand what you can make it work. But you know what I want to mention? I do have a free dating profile starter kit on my website.
Oh, great.
So if anybody is looking to get back in the dating world, it's a starter kit, and you're right, professional pictures are so important, or at least ones that look decent. So it's under
don't
True
take
Love
your
Nuts.
picture in the bathroom mirror.
Guys, remember that. Please, that bathroom selfie with your boxes on. No, not the visual I want to see.
This has been so fun. Thank you for being here. I hope you will come back, and we will ask RJ to join us.
Thank you so much, and thank you.
And thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll come back next week for another wonderful guest.
Heck of a week, huh?
Yep, it's been busy.
Yep. What do you got planned for the weekend?
Well, I'm going to relax. I'm going to go to Laughlin, Nevada.
Laughlin? You're going to
Laughlin.
Laughlin to relax?
I am, because I discovered this incredible art gallery in Laughlin.
An art gallery in Laughlin.
Yes, no one would suspect that there's one of the best art galleries on the West Coast right in Laughlin, Nevada.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's the Florida Greco Fine Art Gallery. She has over 70 artists that display their work there. I mean, there is work that you could buy for your home, for your office. It's amazing. There's every kind of thing from abstracts, realism, stained glass, sculptures. It's fantastic.
How big is this place?
It's huge.
Really?
It's huge. And it's like several stores all turned into this one big gallery.
Wow.
And now I am going to be displaying my art, because I got so excited about it that I wanted to know how I could be included, and she made me show her what I'd done, because she only takes what she considers to be the best artist. So I showed her my work, and she said, of course. So now I have one wall about 10 feet with all these paintings hanging there.
Wow.
And I'm excited to have my art as a part of the other quality artists that are there.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So it's the Florida Greco Fine Art Gallery in Laughlin, Nevada.
Yeah, it's in the little shopping center there.
Really?
Yeah.
They have a shopping center now?
Of course.
I haven't been
yes.
to Laughlin in so long, and it's so close.
Yeah, it's only an hour and 15 minutes, but Laughlin's grown up. It's a little city now. It's got a lot of hotels and a lot of places where you can eat, restaurants, and it's got places where you can stay. And in fact, I'm going to be teaching some art workshops there, so I'll be going down and doing like 2 to 3 days at a time. So I'll just stay over in one of the hotels and teach my workshop 3 days in a row or 2 days in a row. We're going to be doing one in the spring and then quite a few in the fall.
Wow, I got to check this place out.
Yeah.
I never would have thought of an art gallery in Laughlin.
You'll love it. And
How do they compare to the ones here in Vegas?
Well, it's bigger. Let's put it that way.
Bigger than the galleries we have here?
Yeah, we have a couple of very nice galleries
Right.
here, but this one is much bigger. It has a lot more artist display. I don't know if more artists are a part of it, but there's more work displayed because
Right.
the space is so big.
Yeah.
And it's really beautiful.
I got to check it out.
Well, I suggest everyone check it out because it's only an hour and 15 minutes. It's a nice day. You could drive down, go to the art gallery, go out to lunch, look around at the lake and the water and everything. And well, is it on the river?
Right, it's on
not
the river.
The lake, it's on the river. And then turn around and come back, and it's just like a nice day trip. You don't even have to take the whole day. You can do it in a half a day.
Nice. Well, you heard that. Check it out. Florida D. Greco Fine Art Gallery in Laughlin, Nevada.